Hey, how's it going?
We are here with our last of our series of pre-recorded vlogs
So that we
in the
make sure they get
future.
done.
Yes, because we are bad at vlogging sometimes. Okay, so
This is vlog number 51.
you have vlogged a lot of times. That's a lot of vlogs.
Oh, God, so much vlogging.
I'm so proud of us. Okay, one more tomorrow. That will be 1 year's worth of weekly vlogs.
Why tomorrow?
52 weeks.
Why tomorrow?
I mean next vlog. I don't mean tomorrow.
Okay, alright.
Obviously.
Next week.
Because we're with me,
Yes,
right?
next week will be a week of vlogging.
A week of vlogging.
Year of vlogging? 52 weeks worth of vlogging. Alright, let's do some questions. What's today's day about?
Okay. Today we are talking about folklore and when gods are considered gods.
That sounds like difficult talks.
Yes, but you will enjoy them anyway. Because our first question is, I'm watching Rise of the Guardians, and I'm curious, how would you treat folk characters like Jack Frost?
Oh, cool. I would treat him neat.
Jack Frost is in our games, actually.
Yeah. I would treat them as generally demigods, probably.
Or Titan Spawn, depending on the character.
I'm sorry. Demigod level in Legend.
There we go.
Usually Titan Spawn. Probably Titan Spawn that are maybe not benevolent, but, not horrible.
I think a good place to do him was also Lesser Immortals.
Lesser,
like,
sure.
he's an Alpha or whatever.
Right.
An
Different,
Alph,
either a different
one of the
race,
Alpha.
or a Titan Spawn, maybe, but a Titan Spawn with a
Yeah.
couple of the better virtues.
Like, children of, you have a lot of things in Greek mythology where, a god is a child with a nymph and then it becomes some kind of weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing is always a good place to
Yep.
put them.
Yeah, a kid with a nymph, kid with a weird satyr or something.
Gods have weird tastes.
Yeah. And then, treat him like a normal character. Do some fun stuff with him, give him some fun powers. If you're going to have him in the story, make him, a character. Give him some stuff to do, have him some goals and stuff. Over the course of the story, Jack Frost has been doing stuff with them for 3 years. And, through their help, he has gone from, demigod legend thing to they've, bolstered him and helped him and taken out his enemies and given him power. And now he's a Titan.
Yeah, he's
Full-fledged
just originally
Frost Titan.
started as just a little Titan spawn of Niflheim. He was very elf-like. He had some frost powers. He had some party time powers.
Yeah.
He was just having a good time. And as they've grown to power, they've kind of taken him with them.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's up there.
Yeah.
So whatever. Look at what powers you think your given folklore figure should have. Look at what kind of character they have. Are they a nice person? Are they more likely to be an antagonist? And then assign them a role based on that.
Same thing as you would do with a god normally.
Yeah, I mean,
Or any character you want to use.
There's still an NPC that's out there in the world, and you decide how powerful they should be based on their legends, and go from there.
Yep.
All right, second question: have you considered including Santa Claus as a minor god, or do you consider him to be an aspect of Odin? Perhaps other children.
I guess a minor god means non-legend 12, but no, Santa's not a god. No one worships Santa.
He's a much more recent figure, and he's based on Saint Nicholas, and of course Saint Nicholas's imagery something comes from Odin, which is why people conflate the two. I think you could decide Santa Claus is an alias of Odin. I'm not sure.
Alias maybe, but not like a separate god at all.
He's not a person.
Yeah.
I think there's a good opportunity that if you could have plenty of different Titan Spawn or Lesser Mortals say, I'm going to be Santa Claus. I'm going to take that slot that people already believe in. I'm going to go set myself up as Santa Claus, or I'm going to use the Santa Claus persona for my own goals or whatever.
Or even if they've been doing that for a long time, or they've been, they were the original Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be a god like we think of gods. They're never going to be.
They were never part of a religion.
Yeah, we're never
even
going to
Saint
put them on
Nicholas
something.
was a human.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the major part.
So
a god
no,
is part of a
we're
religion.
not.
Santa Claus
Question
is not.
over.
Boom. I'm starting a new Scion game soon. I want to use American folk characters, including a few that got turned into gods and a certain supplement that will not be mentioned. I'm looking for advice how to use those people.
I'm listening, wise question asker.
So, how do
Wait,
you use
they're
someone
done.
like Johnny Appleseed, Pecos Bill?
Yeah. It's the same way as the Jack Frost thing. Except if they were really humans, then let them, be humans. Figure out, that's just some world building you got to do. Figure out where they Scions, take it individually.
Yeah. I mean, you look at someone like Pecos Bill and you're like, well, if he travels in a tornado, he's probably not a human. But then you look at somebody that's like Betsy Ross, well, she's obviously just a human soda flag. It's not that impressive.
Yeah, it's not even a good flag.
We're the best at our country. Yeah, so, look at it, decide, Paul Bunyan is a giant. Maybe he's just a giant.
Right, yeah, he could just be a giant.
Yeah. He's in our games as a Bogavy sign that has Jot and Bloot.
Mm-hmm.
But he could be any number of things that giants do.
Yeah. It's just, have some fun world building. Use them as any other NPC. The only difference is they have a a slightly structured, at least rumored backstory.
Yeah, I mean that's cool that you can have an NPC that has been around for a while.
Yeah, and when you say his name, the PCs come to the table with some semblance of what they already know about him.
Yes.
But I would say, you want to mix that up a little. You want to make some of the stories either true or not true, or make sure they're embellished and why that happened, and just know ahead of time what you're planning to do.
Exactly.
With all that.
Again, I mean, as you obviously know from your very politically worded question, those are mostly non-gods, and we wouldn't consider them that way. But you could, if you really wanted to, make them Scions that had like eternal youth, or just were demigods for a really long time, and just didn't become gods.
Yeah, like you get a lot of options.
Maybe they're in a glacier. Who knows?
But I think, or you're doing a game in the past.
Yeah, if you do something during that time, like you do something during the Gold Rush, maybe Pavos Bill is a Scion and he's running around, and you can do stuff with him if you want to.
I think the main thing is just to have a plan and know what you're going to do ahead of time and sprinkle them in there.
Yeah.
Don't overuse them. Don't just folk heroes are fucking everywhere. Use them sparingly. Use them as the plot devices they need to be, and then let them.
Unless there is an important plot that is about folk characters are everywhere, why is that happening?
Oh, yeah, that'd be a cool
in that case, then they can be everywhere. But as long you need to have a reason. If the reason is just I like folk characters, so I keep putting them in, make sure they're not stealing the spotlight from the players, and that the players are interested.
Yeah. And it's not the show Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But thank you for your question. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right, this is a good question to follow those things. How do you define who should be a god and not just a legendary character? For example, some gods like Hel were never worshipped, but they were acknowledged and feared. Is the status as a god just a belief by some people that they existed, or is that something else? Well, first of all, it's not just a belief that they existed, because people believed all kinds of things existed. Children believed the Tooth Fairy existed, but we're not going to make the Tooth Fairy god. The important thing is that they were part of our religion. So, in some way. And definition of religion can be a little loose, but for example, Hel is known to be a goddess. It says in the Norse Eddas that she's a goddess. She's listed as this daughter of a god. Her name shows up when they talk about the names of goddesses. They didn't worship her because they didn't like her, but that doesn't mean that they didn't think she was a goddess.
Also, a small point that will help with this, in Scion proper, as we look at it, if two gods, or even usually a god and a non-god, a non-god that is very legendary, have a kid.
That child's usually a god.
It's a god unless otherwise specified.
Yeah.
So Hel is a god because she's both said to be a god, but also because we are not told she isn't. Whereas Fenris and Jormungandr, we are told that they are not.
Yeah. When you look at... Scions are easy to pinpoint because they're half human. So you can always say, well, this is a child of a god, but they have a human half, so it's a Scion. But if you're looking at a child of a god and nobody says anything, it's just a legendary child of a god, it's probably also a god. Like, you don't need anyone to tell you Hermes is a god because he's Zeus's son. Mm-hmm. You know he's a god. And you don't need anybody to tell you that Pan is a god because he's Hermes' son, and you know he's a god. And in those cases, they were also worshipped, and that makes it much clearer. If somebody was worshipped, then they're probably a god. But there's still, for example, you're not looking, there's a lot of minor gods out there that really didn't have a lot of formal worship, but you know they're gods because they're the children of gods, and they're in those ranks. And that's how you get along with things like Hel.
And just because they don't have formal worship, they could have statues to them, or, I don't think there's a lot of formal worship for someone like Terminus, but you're still going to put his statue or symbol over a threshold.
They're not worshiping him, but they're acknowledging he is a god, and he's part of that religion. Mm-hmm. The acknowledgement that this is a god is very important, because most cultures will do that. There are a few that are questionable, actually bringing back up the Inuit, because they didn't have the same concept of religion as most people.
We're bringing them back up, but this is from she's talking about last week.
Yeah, last week we talked about the Inuit and their virtues, but so the Inuit had a slightly different concept of religion, and they didn't think of gods as much as something to be worshipped, so they have it's a little bit weirder there. But even they, these are entities that control the world that we acknowledge are those things. Versus something like Santa Claus is not one of those things. Because people believe in him, as children believe that Santa exists, doesn't make him a god. They'd have to believe that he was part of a religion. They'd have to believe he was a god, and nobody does. And nobody ever has. So that is the reason that we don't use folk characters as gods, because they aren't. Because there's a very important difference between imaginary character someone believes in and character that's part of a religion, that someone believed in a religious sense. It's important to just
know what the words mean in the scope of the game and then use them correctly, and that those words should help you answer questions like this.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of things that people believe. There's kids believe things I know a kid that believed that Daffy Duck was a real thing, and it doesn't make him a god. It just means that's a kid who doesn't know the difference between fiction and reality yet. But somebody who genuinely worships a figure, this is part of my religion. I believe in this person, not just that they exist, but that they are an important
Do they control the cosmos in some way?
That person is a god. Even if I don't worship them, even if I just know they're out there, but I acknowledge and believe that and it's part of my religion, that's a god.
We have answered this question.
We have. All right, last one. I've been in a lot of games and they usually ignore gods that are less than Legend 12. Why do you think that is?
That is because it's hard. It's very easy to look at our website and see the Legend 12 gods that have like a nice thing set up and they're well known. And those are much easier to deal with. In addition, they're much flashier.
Yes.
They're when they arrive, the PCs know what's happening. It's a big. They have ultimates, so they can do a lot more.
I mean, the answer is because they're Legend 12, so we all know them more. We all know what they do more. They're all much easier to use because you know their stories, because you know their personalities, because they're Legend 12, so those things have survived. Gods that are less than Legend 12, you know less about. Yeah. It's harder to come up with a good reason for them to be there or a good story about them.
And many of them have, you gotta kind of figure out, weird side powers for them, too. Like, if I bring Baldur into the game, people know he's gonna have, appearance sun stuff going on. But if Eros shows up in the game...
It's like, fuck, wait, there's no love purview. What does this guy do?
What do we do? So I have to come up with some things he can do. And then...
Greeks are the worst for that. Terminus rolls in. What the fuck does Terminus do? Who knows?
Yeah. The bevity of sleep gods.
They all do, a different quality of sleep. What's the difference between them? There is one, but how do you represent it inside?
What does Nike do?
God damn it, Nike.
Wars differently. Speaking of all the war gods. Those are all harder. I think they're more interesting. I think they can be brought in an earlier legend to do stuff. I think it is a mistake that I tried to fix, but just ended up happening in our God game. Is it is more Legend 12, and I think they were dealing with the Legend 12 guys too quickly.
I think it actually has trickled down to now they don't think to call the Legend 11 and 10 gods. They always go straight to the Legend 12 gods.
Yeah, they're those are the only gods that exist.
Which is politically bad for them because Legend 12 gods are stop bothering me.
Yeah. So I think it is a mistake, but a mistake that is very reasonable and I can understand and is easy to make, and that I have made because it's just a lot less work.
Yeah, I mean, remember that your storyteller, if they want to use a less than Legend 12 god, they probably have to go out and research that person. They have to find out about them. They have to know how to answer whatever questions your PCs are going to ask about them. Yeah. They need to...
Their characters are not as outlined, so you're making a whole new character too. If I want to... I can use any of the gods that I already know about and fall on a crush to what I know their personality is from what I've read.
Yeah, but if we want to bring in Wei Coyote, and the only thing you know about him is that he's a coyote god and he's old and crotchety and plays tricks, you got to kind of build the whole thing around that. How do I make that a person you can talk to? What would he be like? What does he do? Why is he important to the story now? So you have to do that with every single less than Legend 12 god you want to bring in, and it's good to bring them in, but it is a lot of work for the storyteller. So that's usually the reason that they don't do it.
It's a ton of extra work in a Scion ST, especially dealing with gods who's already doing a ton of work. Yeah. So I would say it's mildly excusable if they brought in more lower legend gods, especially early godhood. It would be a better game.
I think a lot of storytellers also don't bring them in, but do a quick skim research because they know my players may go talk to them, but I'm not going to bring them in before that because that's work I may not have to do. So then they can kind of wait and say, okay, which lower legend gods did my players want to talk to? I'll research them instead of just I'm going to research them and bring them in, and then maybe my players don't care about them and talk to someone else and I have to do it all over again.
Yep.
And I mean, it would be great if we could all just have giant encyclopedias in our head and know everything about every lower legend god, but there are thousands of them. It's not possible.
No, so what you can do, which Anne will be angry, you can kill off just so many of them.
I hate killing them off.
So that it's so there's a reasonable amount of them that you can use and have them all set. Yeah, right, there's 100 of them. You guys know all of them. Every other one is dead.
I hate doing that because it's definitely 100% easier for the storyteller, but I feel like it cuts the world down for the... it takes away so many options from the players to say, I'm taking these gods out to make life simpler, but then you don't have the option of talking to them. So, mix, to taste.
But at least you get to use
simplicity?
Them. Yeah. But now your game has the lower legend gods, where before you were it's too much work, I can't do it at all.
Yeah, it really depends on the storyteller and the players on what's happening. Do you need more simplicity? Do you need to get rid of some... Yeah, or they don't always have to be dead. Right now, all of our death gods are off doing something, so you just can't talk to lower legend death gods. They're busy. So we don't have to worry about them right now.
Except Smirt.
Yeah, well, Smirt does what she wants. She doesn't care about everyone else's problems. So, that was our last question.
Boom! I think it's December, or is it Thanksgiving?
I think it's Thanksgiving. This might be our Thanksgiving vlog, in which case I hope we've produced something in the last month and you guys are enjoying it.
There's no way it's Thanksgiving. But Thanksgiving is coming soon.
Next week?
We will not do a vlog for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We might. I don't know. I have no concept. We got like 4 weeks off now.
I know. We're gonna like do stuff on Saturday afternoons. Lie around. So yeah, hopefully we've done something before now, and you guys are excited about it. Like maybe something is on the website, or maybe that's just been happening for the last 4 weeks. Oh! And then I'm gonna stab him in the eye.
Oh, my eyeball! What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry, it was an accident.
Okay, alright, thanks everybody.
I think we've been vlogging too long. We gotta go.
Too much vlogging.
Too much. See you guys later.